Coming up, shops. England's high streets are back open for business, but how many of us will be hitting the shops?
ITV Lunchtime News with Lucrezia Millarini.
Good afternoon. It's back to business for non-essential shops in England from today, with hopes shoppers will return to the high street sooner rather than later as lockdown restrictions continue to ease. And that isn't the only major change. You must now wear a face covering if using public transport, again, just in England, with threats of fines if you're caught travelling without one. But with social distancing guidelines still focused on that 2-metre rule, there are fears it'll be a barrier to some businesses reopening their doors. Our political correspondent Paul Brand reports. Well, there you go. We've seen the efforts businesses are putting into getting customers back through the doors on the high street. But what can we do to help us all shop safely? Well, GP Dr. Zhu, will be queues outside those stores. Thank you. Well, it's also back to school for some teenagers in England from today too, for the first time since lockdown. But it's only students in years 10 and 12 who have exams next year who will be returning to the classroom. And within those year groups, only a quarter of pupils are allowed on site at a time as teachers try to keep up with social distancing measures. Well, Michael Ferry. Well, as the phased return of students in England carries on, it is a different picture across the rest of the UK. Let's move on to some other news this lunchtime. And a US Air Force plane has crashed into the North Sea off the northeast coast of England. Search and rescue teams are now looking for the pilot. It's not known what caused the jet to come down during the training exercise. Well, Stacey. In China, parts of the capital have been put into lockdown once again following a further outbreak of coronavirus in Beijing. EasyJet planes are taking off again for the first time in 11 weeks, with the company's boss saying he's still hopeful summer holidays will be possible. It's planning to open half of its routes by the end of next month, but there was less positivity elsewhere in the airline sector today. The boss of British Airways has hit back at MPs who branded BA's treatment of its workforce during the pandemic a national disgrace. Well, Joel, the man pictured urinating next to the memorial of PC Keith Palmer, who died in the Westminster terror attack, has been sentenced to 14 days in prison. Andrew Banks. The Prime Minister has vowed to tackle racial inequality through a new commission. It follows a fortnight of anti-racism demonstrations sparked by the death of George Floyd in America. The group will look at how those from BAME communities are potentially discriminated against in health, work and education. But critics say action is needed, not just words. I'm very pleased to say almost 1,000 blue plaques commemorating famous names around London are set to be reviewed to see whether they celebrate figures who held racist views or played a part in the slave trade in the wake. Sally Williams at London Zoo. And just before we go, a reminder about tonight's coronavirus Q&A programme. It is our final. And that is it this lunchtime. Mary is back with the ITV Evening News at 6:30. News where you are follows the national weather. But for now, from everyone here, bye-bye. Take care. Hello again. Now the main stories in London. And as you've been hearing, non-essential shops, including those on Oxford Street, are reopening for the first time since the start of the pandemic. And weather now, here's Sally. That's all for now. We are back at 6. Until then, enjoy your afternoon. Bye-bye.